Welcome to Dream Farm. On the last episode, I talked about 5 things that you can do to improve your bow hunting this coming fall. Stuff that you can do right now. And one of the things on the list was to create a small food plot as close to the cover, as close to bedding areas as you can get. Whether you call it a micro plot or a kill plot, I like to call them staging area food plots because the deer tend to stage in these spots before then moving on to go out into the larger fields to feed later. Those are, like I mentioned there, they're classic spots. I've created, gosh, I bet you at least a dozen, if not more, of those over the years, probably more than that. And I've learned a few lessons about keeping those things productive. And on today's episode, I want to talk about the best rotation, a very simple rotation for these small food plots. Dream Farm is brought to you by Whitetail Institute, research equals results. Hunt Stand Pro Whitetail app. Hoyt Archery. Stealth Cam trail cameras. Wildlife farming. And PH Outdoors food plot drills. Hopefully I can keep this interesting and it's not too obvious. So I'll keep it short either way, but this is something that took me a few years, several years actually, to learn. Clover only has about a 2 to 3 year really productive life. And then it starts to get grassy and it starts to thin out. Some people can increase or have increased the longevity of their clover plots by seeding into that, interseeding more clover seed. But at some point you got to start over. And for me, that means you got to kill it and rotate into something else for at least 1 year and then back to clover again. I don't think there's any better crop for these small, say quarter acre, half acre, even up to an acre food plots than clover, because it can just handle the browsing pressure from the deer really well and keep growing. So when the clover plays out, to me, the best rotation, and what I've learned from experience, is to go into brassicas for 1 year and then back to clover again. This is a really simple rotation, so let me walk you through that. So you planted your clover, you fertilized it, you kept it in good shape, the pH is good, clover lasted 3 years, let's say. So now you're into your 3rd or maybe your 4th summer. And this spring you realize that, man, my clover just isn't what it should be. It's not what it was the past few years. I need to do something about this. I don't do anything different to my clover during that last year. I just let it grow. I let it get as tall as possible. I might mow it, let's say, one time early, like maybe in May, and then I let it grow tall and thick. Whatever's in there, weeds, doesn't matter. What I really want is a bunch of organic matter that's carrying nitrogen with it that you can incorporate back into the plot. That means, in my case, I wait until the last minute. Let's say I'm gonna seed my brassicas the middle of July. I'll wait until the middle of July, mow that clover all the way down to the ground, as close to the ground as I can get it, spread that organic matter around, and then till it in. That's ideal if you've got a tiller. A tiller is perfect for this. And any other tillage method that incorporates that clover 100% into the ground without you having to spray it to kill it is ideal. If not, if you don't have a method for tillage, then you don't have any choice but to spray the clover with something like glyphosate. Don't put any 2,4-D or any broadleaf killer in there, because that carries a residual with it which will slow or stop the growth of the brassicas that you're going to plant in next. Okay, incorporate the clover. And there's a lot of nitrogen there. At least half to 2/3 of the nitrogen requirement of the brassicas that you plant next is going to come from the clover that you incorporated back into the ground. So you're going to save money on herbicide too if you can disc it in or till it in without having to spray it. So now you need to follow that up with broadcasting your brassica blend on top of the tilled ground. In my case, I've been using the wintergreens from Whitetail Institute. And that's done really, really well for me. Our deer just seem to love that stuff. By the way, Whitetail Institute was good enough to get us I think it's a 20% off discount for our viewers. So if you type in BHW 24, I think, I'll put it in the description, I'll put it on here so that I don't give it to you wrong, but I think BHW 24 at checkout you can get 20% off, and that's a nice savings. So anyway, I'm coming back now with this brassica blend, and ideally you're going to catch a rain, and that's going to, you know, put that seed into the top surface of the ground. You got tilled up ground, it's nice and, you know, loamy and soft, lots of porosity. It's really easy for the seed to get in there and create seed to soil contact, but just don't bury your brassicas too deep. I've had really good success just putting them on top and trying to get in right before a rain. I'll put the fertilizer on at the same time. Ideally, the best time to put the fertilizer on is before you till the clover in. So just count on, like I said, getting about 2/3 of your nitrogen credit from the clover. Put your nitrogen and your P and K, whatever is necessary for that plot, on top before you till the clover in. This is a really nice rotation because the brassicas can also handle a fair amount of browsing pressure from the deer. In these small plots, you don't have the option of putting in something like soybeans or, you know, a grain type of a crop because they'll eat it right away. So you need something that can keep growing even with a little bit of browsing pressure from the deer. So the rotation, to take it to the next step, that winter, hopefully the deer more or less clean out your brassicas. And even if they don't, you'll have enough bare dirt in late winter and early spring that you can just broadcast your clover right back on top again and take right off where you left off the year before. You don't have to bring equipment in, you don't have to till it again, as long as you can get to it fairly early. Ideally with a few more frosts left, so the freezing and thawing of the ground will work the seed in. But even if you can catch a few really good spring rains, that can get that clover worked in and really get it going. If you have a bunch of weeds in there or a lot of leaves on the plot, it's not going to work because you need seed to soil contact with the clover seed. It's really small and it can get into that surface of the soil really easy, but not if it's sitting on top of something. So anyway, keep that in mind. If you got a bunch of leaves, you know, a leaf blower or maybe even burn them off to get that seed to soil contact that you need. And then you're right back into clover again. You can fertilize it, you can do all the stuff that you did before and hopefully get 3 more years out of the clover before you rotate back into the brassicas. And it's like I said, it's a very simple rotation. You can experiment by throwing chicory into your clover. You know, you can do a lot of other things. You can try other blends if you want to, but just keeping it simple. Like I said, my goal is to keep this really simple. Clover 2 to 3 years, brassica 1 year, clover 2 to 3, and just keep that rotation going, and you should be fine for, you know, as long as you hunt that area. Well, I appreciate you joining me. We'll see you right back here again soon for the next episode of Dream Farm. And remember to always dream big.